Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to talk to you guys about why the last chapter dropped a bombshell on us when it comes to the future of Ada's character, because we need to have a serious conversation about whether or not Ada is going to be consumed by Mamushi in the future. That's why in today's newest Naruto Explain video, we're going to be taking a look at why Ada just went from being a potential target to now being someone who we have to move from the kind of sort of maybe she gets eaten category to she is now in that area where we need to start putting her in witness protection program, and we need to hide her from that predator known as Mamushi. From the moment that she was introduced in the story, Ada is a character that fans they have generally seemed to either love or hate. Especially when the anime came out, she got a lot of simps. When she got introduced into the manga, that people they hated her for the concept of her power that was called the Dojutsu Senrigan, which allowed her to see all things in the present and in the past up to the moment of her birth, which we learned was 16 years ago in part 1, and in part 2 it's now 19 years ago. And people said it's just so unfair to have an ability like that for a character who is a villain. As we later see, she isn't necessarily a villain so much as she is a character who carried things out in a way where for her own self-best interest she does what works for her, and as long as there's something in it for her, she isn't good or bad. Like when she chose to give Boruto a grace period to ease her own guilty conscience for using omnipotence, a power she cannot control, where she told Boruto that until the day he returned to Konoha, she would not use her powers to spy on Boruto, and she would not help Konoha track Boruto's location during that time so long as he kept up his end of the bargain. It neutralized her power and gave Boruto a fighting chance. It was the narrative showing us that even someone as overpowered as Ada can be written in a creative way where the hack's nature of her powers, it can be addressed. However, now that has happened in the last chapter, it looks like the best girl in Boruto is officially on watch right now. And for full transparency, if it is not obvious by now, I am a big fan of Ada's character. So the day that she ever gets eaten by Mamushi, I am 100,000% going to crash out faster than Class Rep did in this last chapter, and faster than the release date for the official Naruto Explained plushie that is available on Gimme Swag's website, which I had a hand in helping develop. It comes with a weighted and removable championship belt, which has the channel logo on it, which you will see as a part of that 2025 spring reboot, as well as the 1010 316 t-shirt, which is our required Lady 1010 meme and pays homage to my second favorite wrestler of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin, famous for the Austin 316 promo. Right now, between November 20th and December 1st, there is a 25% off discount for your order with the promo code Black Friday 25. One word. Black Friday is in one word with the number 25 at the end. And best of all, if we don't hit 100 plushies order, then it is 100% fully refundable. So it is a win-win. We hit 100 orders and you get this cool plushie that I helped design over the last few months. And if we don't hit 100 orders, then you get your money back. Either way, you have helped support the channel in more ways than you guys know. Pre-orders are now live via my link in the description box and the pinned comment until December 3rd. If you recall, in the last chapter, what happened when Shikamaru was asking for updates on the awakened Shinju, Ada immediately cut that whole possibility of her spying on them completely off the table, because she confirms to us something that as a community we never got a real answer to in the past, which is that for reasons unknown, Mamushi is able to directly interact with Ada when she uses the Senrigan. We saw it when the awakened Shinju were gathered around discussing who their targets they were going to consume are going to be. Mamushi looked right at Ada, deep into her eyes, got up and walked across the room to tell her that he was going to eat her. Out of everything that we have seen from Ada, this was that one moment where she truly looked like she was scared and shaken. It presented potentially a vulnerability to her Senrigan powers that I would venture to say that not even she knew existed. Up until that point in the story, she was able to watch in on people from their most private moments like it was nothing. There were zero moments where she couldn't see what it was that you were doing, and there was no way of knowing whether or not she was watching you. Yet, look at what we have here. She knows without any doubt that Mamushi was looking at her, and it's that sixth sense that exists inside of all of us, where we all know deep down in our hearts, in our very souls, when we are in danger of something or someone that can kill us. For Ada, this was that moment for her. She knew that Mamushi could kill her, and it spooked her enough that she dropped her drink. Ever since then, She hasn't looked back at what was happening in real time with the awakened Shinju. Everything that she looked at was always after the fact. After hours had passed and she had dropped in the line that she didn't know what would happen if she kept watching, which opens the door to potentially there being some unforeseen loophole with her Sharingan that the awakened Shinju can exploit if she watches them in real time, potentially harm her physically or spiritually. That line was not dropped in there by mistake. The same with her saying the line about her blood running cold. Think about it for a moment. When have we ever truly seen Ada look that frightened? This was done intentionally and it makes sense. Code, at the end of the day, his body could not be used as a vessel for reincarnation, but as the manga tells us, for all intents and purposes, his Karma Seal does contain Ishiki's data in it. It contains his essence. It just cannot be extracted into Code's body to be used for resurrection purposes, but the data, it is still there. Code's karma was what was used to alter the Ten Tails, which means it isn't just Code's chakra that runs in these Ten Tails or the chakra of the people who serve as their hosts, but it is also the chakra from the Ten Tails they were split apart from, and most importantly, Ishiki's essence, and that means that we are in uncharted territory. Would any of us be shocked if Ada were to use the Sharingan to watch in real time someone moving around in that Shinju dimension in some distant or near future moment, potentially because Kawaki asked her to get location intel on Jura, and that resulted in the payoff of the line in the chapter where she says, and I'm quoting, "I don't know what he might have done if I kept watching," end quote. That implication, it is there, it existed for the possibility that she could be hurt. That was thrown in the story for a reason to make us pay attention to it. Kawaki is the one person who will be able to make her break her self-imposed rule of never looking for the Shinju in real time, and if that happens, there have to be consequences for it. You don't throw that line out there for no reason. We are slowly moving through the boxes of all these awakened Shinju meeting their targets. Hidari encountered Sarada and he attempted to eat her. Jura encountered Himawari and he attempted to eat her. Matsuri is seemingly about to get a chance to wrap her lips around Konohamaru and devour him. Ryu is very close to Gar's location and it appears as if he's going to get his chance as well. The only one left is Mamushi, the Shinju made from Bug's chakra, and the puns are not by mistake. Bug is a pun on computer bug, which does serious damage to a program. Bug, tech pun. Ada is a pun on the first computer programmer, Ada Lovelace. Ada is also a computer program. A bug is attacking a programmer or potentially a program also attacking her program itself, since there's a bug in her Sharingan that is Mamushi himself, because she compared her Sharingan eye to technology, to it being like a surveillance camera. He represents the bug program used to allow her to look through those cameras, known as her eyes. Mamushi being a pun on the most dangerous snake in Japan, the Mamushi, a dangerous pit viper, a snake with the most lethal poison in that country for snakes, a creature that is patient and lies in wait until it is ready to pounce. Just as Mamushi lies in wait for Ada, the same thing is happening here. He's just waiting for her to slip up, and it's potentially going to happen at some point when she and we as the audience least expect it. As a writer, you aren't going to continuously have so many close encounters with these awakened Shinju where everyone is seemingly able to escape without any harm done. There won't be a super Boruto coming in to save her, not like we saw with Sarada and Himawari, and we'll likely see with Konohamaru and Gar. At some point, one of these Shinju is going to get their mouths on someone, and Ada might be the odd one out, and it makes sense. She is the one that you would assume is the most safe. She is locked away in Konoha. She is heavily guarded. She has tanks in the form of Damon and Delta that are there to protect them. The last thing you would ever think is that she is in danger, yet that is exactly how you subvert expectations, because it's the one thing you least expect, potentially in the most unexpected manner. This is potentially that moment where you take Ada, someone who has said more than once she hates fighting, she views it as being barbaric, and she never wanted Amato to violate her by pumping her full of ninja tech inside of her body. This is the moment where you take the non-combatant off the table. Hell, this would be very similar to what you saw when Madara and Obito decided to take out the Shinobi Alliance. Instead of taking out the brains in this case, Mamushi would be taking the eyes of his enemy, and it would leave his enemy blinded, allowing the Shinju to move around undetected. As much as I do not want this to happen, And I really don't want this to happen. I do strongly believe that Ada, someone written as a princess based on the lettering associated with her speaking, she uses a lot of that kanji and lettering that is associated with the bratty princess type characters. We are going to run into a situation where she does become the princess that is captured by the bad guy, but in this instance, it might very well result in her being the character who the story uses to tell us what happens to people who get devoured by an awakened Shinju that are targeting them. Because let's be real for a second, for as much as these threats that the Shinju pose, and they do pose a threat, it's also at a point in the story where there's still hope for the good guys, and the good guys have gotten break after break, if we're being honest here. They got hella plot armor and plot protection. Even for a battle shonen, they got a lot of it. Super Boruto just happens to show up when you least expect it and saves the day over and over again. Even though he did get shot, I guess Jura is his kryptonite per se, but Ada's days, they're coming. If you're like me, it's gonna leave you so heartbreaking, it's gonna leave you so distraught. I'm gonna be crying tears, I'm gonna be completely a wreck like Sumire was in the chapter, and I'm gonna be so shattered. The only thing that truly cures me, and probably will only cure you, is clicking the chapter review for chapter 16 over here on the left, or clicking here for the newest video from Anime Explained, where I discuss other series that aren't Naruto and Boruto in the form of video essays, chapter reviews, and a bunch of explained videos for various series.